So I want to share something with you. After the first season of the podcast, I got an email from an acquaintance, and this is what he wrote. Dude, I've listened to every ep of your podcast, and it is fascinating and well-made, but fucking infuriating. And then a little further down, he writes, who is your intended audience for the show? I ask because I listen to your podcast, and all I do is go, OMG, Dylan is a saint, and fuck these fucking stupid bigots. So I'm starting to get the feeling that your intended audience is not me, which is totally fine. I just started to think, what is the point of this? Now that last line, what is the point of this, has been stuck in my head ever since he sent this email. What is the point of this? I think we ask this question partly because, as we just discussed in our last session, change takes time, and we aren't able to see people radically and magically transform on one single phone call. When we're fed a media diet that consists entirely of spectacular transformations, it's easy to question the validity of a project whose outcome is a little more subtle. But I think we ask this question for another reason. Conversations are boring. Yes, you heard me right. Conversations are boring. I mean, think about it. One conversation on its own, it can't change much. We can't engage in authentic dialogue with too many people, so it has to be one-on-one. A real conversation doesn't have the crisp speed of scripted dialogue. Instead, we have to endure all those natural stops and starts and rambling trails of thought that happen as we stumble through early drafts of ideas. Conversation is not a spectacle. But even if it can't enact immediate change, even if it isn't the most thrilling thing to watch, I believe in conversation. Because I see conversation as a radical act of rebellion. In a time when we can gain points by dunking on our adversaries, when our platforms of communication pit us against each other, when some public figures base their entire point of view on who they hate, when rants are considered an art form, when we speak for points in the public square, having a conversation is a subtle act of subversion. Now, hate, I believe, is calcified fear. And fear feasts on division. It gets stronger the less we know each other, the more opposed we are. In other words, fear relies on distance between us to do its work. Conversation minimizes that distance. At the end of his conversation with Kay, Jonathan, the guest who I was telling you about who had changed his position over the course of 2 episodes, said of the call, "This has made me think about it in ways that I didn't even know to think about it." That is all that conversation can be. A seed that we plant, a signpost that guides us on our journey, a subtle, sometimes imperceptible shift in perspective that we never would have considered before. Hold a space for people you disagree with, but only if they'll respect that space that you've created. Honor your definition of safety while gently challenging yourself to expand it. Don't gamify your interactions with other people, even when it may be really tempting to do so. Ask questions with curiosity. Answer questions with vulnerability. Know your limits and respect the limits of others. When people mess up, remember that you have messed up too. See those transgressors as multidimensional and not disposable trash. Start by calling them in. Give yourself and your conversations the gifts of time and patience. It will change you. Eventually. We just might not see it yet. What is the point of this? My acquaintance asked me in his email. I want to tell him that the point is actually very simple. It's to build a bridge where there wasn't one before. To make that bridge as safe as possible for those who are willing to cross it, and to share those moments with others in the hope that they may be inspired to build and cross bridges of their own. And who knows, maybe you will be inspired too.